The first time the twin girls locked eyes with him, the entire mansion seemed to hold its breath. Nannies had quit crying, tutors had walked out angry, and even trained child psychologists had failed. Yet this single dad janitor, still holding a mop in his hand, stood there calmly as the billionaire's daughters stared him down, with the same look that had defeated everyone else. What happened next would change their lives forever, and no one saw it coming. The billionaire's mansion was famous in the city, not just for its size or luxury, but for its silence. That silence wasn't peace, it was exhaustion. 2 9-year-old twin girls lived there, brilliant, sharp-tongued, and deeply wounded. After their mother died 3 years earlier, the girls had built walls no adult could climb. They screamed, broke things, refused to eat, refused to learn, and made it their mission to push every caretaker away. The billionaire father tried money, discipline, and distance. Nothing worked. Love had become something he didn't know how to offer anymore. Every morning, while the mansion prepared for another failed attempt at control, the janitor arrived quietly. He was invisible to most people. A single father himself, he cleaned floors while raising a young son alone after his wife passed away. Life had stripped him of comfort but not compassion. He listened more than he spoke, watched more than he judged. And without knowing it, he was about to step into the most important role of his life. The twins noticed him before anyone else did, not because he was loud or demanding, but because he didn't flinch. When one of them deliberately spilled juice on the floor he had just cleaned, expecting anger, he simply smiled and cleaned it again. When they insulted him, he nodded as if hearing something sad rather than rude. This confused them. Adults were supposed to react. Adults were supposed to break. He didn't. One afternoon, the girls hid his cleaning supplies, laughing as they waited for him to explode. Instead, he sat on the floor and told them a story about a man who lost everything but found strength in taking care of small things one day at a time. He didn't look at them while speaking. He didn't force eye contact. He just spoke softly, like someone talking to himself. The room grew quiet. For the first time in years, the twins listened. From that day on, something shifted. The janitor never tried to discipline them. He never tried to replace their parents. He simply showed up, every day, consistently, patiently. When they fought, he separated them gently and waited until they were ready to speak. When they cried, he stayed nearby without asking questions. Slowly, the girls began to follow him around, sitting near him while he worked, asking small questions. "Why do you clean floors? Why don't you yell? Where is your family?" He answered honestly. He told them about his son, about loss, about how pain doesn't disappear but can become softer when shared. The twins didn't say much, but they heard everything. That night, one of them slept through without a nightmare for the first time in months. The billionaire noticed the change but didn't understand it. Reports came in. Fewer tantrums, fewer broken objects, less screaming. He watched from a distance as his daughters laughed quietly at something the janitor said. A laugh he hadn't heard since their mother died. He felt relief and fear. How could a man with nothing succeed where he had failed with everything? Then came the real test. One of the twins collapsed at school from emotional stress. Doctors warned that continued emotional isolation could cause serious long-term damage. The billionaire panicked. He called in experts again, prepared to send the girls away to a special institution. That night, the janitor found the twins hiding under a staircase, shaking, convinced they were being abandoned again. He sat with them until dawn. He told them they were not broken. He told them their anger made sense. He told them they didn't need to be perfect to be loved. For the first time, the twins cried openly in front of an adult. Not out of rage, but relief. The next morning, the billionaire confronted the janitor. Angry, confused, desperate, he demanded to know what he had done to his daughters. The janitor didn't defend himself. He simply said, "I listened, and I stayed." Those words hit harder than any accusation. The billionaire realized he had been present in body but absent in heart. What happened next surprised everyone. The billionaire asked the janitor to stay, not as a cleaner, but as a caregiver. The janitor hesitated. He didn't want power. He didn't want money. He wanted stability for his son. The billionaire offered both, but more importantly, he offered trust. The transition wasn't perfect. The twins tested boundaries again. They regressed, they feared losing him too. But this time he didn't disappear. He involved them in small responsibilities. He let them help care for his son. Slowly they learned empathy by giving it. Slowly the mansion filled with noise, not chaos, but life. Months later the girls stood on a stage at school, confidently performing a short play they had written about grief and healing. The billionaire watched with tears in his eyes. The janitor stood at the back, holding his son's hand, proud but quiet. In the end, it wasn't money, authority, or intelligence that healed the billionaire's twin daughters. It was consistency. It was humility. It was a man who had lost everything yet still chose kindness. And the impossible thing he did wasn't controlling them. It was loving them without conditions. Sometimes the people who change our lives aren't the ones with power or titles. They're the ones who stay when everyone else leaves.